going out because we're closing the door? Are you okay? Close the door. Are you okay? Close the door. Are you okay? Are you okay? Close the door, okay? Sorry. One sec. Just gonna get some water. Okay, that's the wrong one, isn't it? That's okay. We've got this one up. So, welcome to ShintoSEYE, I.S.E.S, Pisces full moon, Libra new moon, 2 degrees 58 minutes on the moon, and the sun's 25 degrees 56 minutes. Put that off now. There we are. Hello, one watcher. I think one of those watchers was us. That could be it as well. Hannah, hi. It's good to see you too. There was 3, but one was us and the other one was obviously impatient. Patience is a virtue. So we've got the energy of the group. Oh, we made it pretty much on time to when we were scheduled. If you're wondering what this is because when we watch it back, our little ones and others pay attention to the background. So we've put that up there because it's budgeting for women and some other stuff to do with finances. So we're doing the subliminal reprogramming and subliminal messaging. Can't say that very well. So we were hoping to remember to test the microphone before coming on today. So I don't know if we're going to give that a go in a moment, but we've got that here. Where do we start? We've just come out of we've come out of the bath a little while ago, and then we scheduled this, and then we just did our legs up with some deep breathing and meditation, and some sounding with our jaw off to the right and then with our jaw off to the left. And then we just did a very quick, with our support headstand thing, a very quick inversion. And we had air flowing in. So we have kind of done some planning, but that's not what we wanted to start with. We wanted to start with something because of something. R.I.P. the Queen. Not for tomorrow because she's already passed, bless her, but for the funeral tomorrow. And because we're talking about the Queen, this can bring up mixed emotions for people. And it can range from emotions of deep sorrow and sadness for the Queen herself, and grief, or for grief and loss of what has been, because there's going to be a massive transition. And so because there's a massive transition, it means certain things get left behind, which isn't always consciously known. There will be what's consciously known, but a lot of the information that comes in through the constructive feedback loop of information in and out of the senses, or out and in of the senses, and then goes through the processing model of the human body, and that depends on one's individual wiring, which if one suffered trauma, especially as a child, the wiring can be a very creative, artistic format that doesn't follow conventional understanding. And this conventional understanding of things is causing more fragmentation and more separation. And so the grief can be grief for attachments to objects, peoples, animals, what has been, fear of what is to come. And it can also be, so people say that It's the collective unconscious. It's not ours. So therefore, let's cut ourselves off from the collective unconscious, not watch the TV, not read the news, not do this, and then it won't affect us. But that's coming from the perspective of the external reality. Whereas the external reality, if we combine what we have learned from scientific to spiritual and merge it and integrate it with our understanding from our experiences, then everything external of us is a projection of our own internal reality. One person can walk down at the same one street and another person can walk down the same street. One person will smell the beautiful smells, see the beautiful flowers, experience the beautiful sensations on the body, while the other person smells the dog shit on the side of the road, sees the rotting fruit that was chucked away or the litter. And what we get drawn to depends what's inside of us. And there's no good or bad on this, because, I mean, we've got an acute sense of smell. We experience it all. But some things will stand out more. And it doesn't mean that someone's a bad person or a good person. There is no bad or good. That's the duality reality. It means that if we work under the language of source energy, the language of our subconscious, the language of our superconscious, subconscious being past memory, everything that's happened to us our whole life, which is data, it's information, which is stored in the connective tissue, the fascia of the body, which is everything in the body. If you took everything materialistic out of the body, your lungs, your veins, your arteries, your organs, your nails, your skin, your hair, absolutely everything apart from your connective tissue, your fascia, you are left with this most beautiful, multi-dimensional spider web cling film network of everything in your body. So you can see where the lungs were, the organs, the skin, the nails, the veins, the arteries, because it's all there. But there'll be this literally this transparent body that you can see through, and then you've just got this like a spider web. So the collective unconscious won't impact us as individuals if the frequencies of the collective unconscious, so the collective unconscious, let's speak in frequency. So the subconscious is the body, the fascia, the memory, data, information, and the fascia. The superconscious is the thought, the imagination. It's the faster, shorter wavelength. We can get confused with this, and that's why it's always do your own research. This is what we wanted to start with. Take self-accountability and self-responsibility. Do one's own research. How do we discern what is the truth and what is out there when there's so much information out there these days and knowledge, and it's contradicting? And we discern what the truth is, because truth again means there's falsities and there's lies, and that's the duality reality. So we're working under the concept and the definition of truth. We don't know how to describe that one, but it's under so that we can communicate. And to understand first of the truth, one has to understand the truth is what's true for the individual, and everything else that's out there is true for one individual, but maybe false for another individual. But it doesn't mean the content of that information is true or false, and that's it. It means that it's true for one person, but it's not true for another, because we're all different. We're all wired different. We all had different past experiences. And we're not going to go down too much down that avenue, but the past, again, the body, it's the shorter wavelength, it's the red, it's the physical, it's the expansive, faster, it's the expansive subatomic energy vibrating that needs a container, the body, a vessel, a tubular body to contain that energy. And the denser it gets, the more manifest into the physical it is. And so bones are a lot more dense than blood. Blood would be in what our current understanding of the chemical body, whereas bone would be the physical body. So it's about taking self-accountability, self-responsibility, and going, okay, we have unresolved frequencies around grief. We have unresolved frequencies around anger, because we've got DID. It's the biggest of denial going. There's still aspects of our psyche and stuff that goes on that we don't know about, but we're aware that we don't know about it. We've got past to our childhood unresolved grief. We've got past unresolved grief to losing our community in the last half decade and losing our friends and having to separate ourselves from our family and do everything on our own, because we're so complex that we only needed the variables of us to get to know ourselves. And we go deep and we're complex. And we didn't want to hurt anyone, and we didn't want to hurt ourselves. We don't want to go down that pathway because that's going to take us into the suicidal ideation. So it's a trigger. So very quickly, we used to keep ourselves alive because we didn't want to cause that pain after, because we overdosed when we were 18, very lucky to be here, and we saw the impact it had on others. And we've been, from who we are, the empath, the super highly sensitive person, we've put others first our whole life. But it's about putting us first now. But we know that if there was any crisis situation or someone was really more vulnerable, more desperate, we would still put them first, and we know that. But it's a learning about putting ourselves first, and that's challenging. So we used to keep ourselves alive because we didn't want to cause that pain on our family and people that loved us. And then the perspective shift, and it was like, well, it's no fault of theirs, but the energy that other people are in, if we're a frequency and they're a frequency, and that frequency is harming us and causing us more trauma states, then we need to separate ourselves from that. Even though we know it's going to trigger our abandonment issues and other things, and that they're not going to understand, and that they're going to get hurt. So there's a lot that gets entangled in that. But the actual words that went with it, well, I'm sure they would prefer to have us alive and not in their life than in their life and dead. So there's a lot of grief and death being talked about here. So we're just letting it, we're flowing with it. A good teacher is one that, we've got a big teaching background, and a big teacher is one that plans but is adaptable to the moment and going with the flow. And we're one that's already planned, always planned too much. So if people do come to this here now or in the future, be respectful with one's comments, and know that if we do put any type of comment out there, even just disliking a post, what we put out, we receive back. So when we felt like we weren't receiving unconditional love from other people, which we couldn't, how can we receive unconditional love from people that aren't able to give themselves unconditional love, which is pretty much the majority of people. It's how our society is based, in these drama triangles of life, the gameplay of the child, adult, parent, or the perpetrator, rescuer, victim. And if there's a rescuer, there has to be a victim. And if there's someone that's in a dark suicidal state, they can't go into their victim too much, because otherwise they will go into the suicide. So we weren't going to talk about this because there's mixed between us all in here about the Queen and the royal family and what they stand for. Tradition, how tradition has got to that point of being quite harmful in ways, because we have laws that are ancient and outdated and don't suit the current needs of the adapting, flexible mind, and how the mind isn't just the mental mind. And so the mixture of emote, but this is a mass global collective consciousness energy that's going on. And so that's why we had to talk about it, because this is an interactive source energy series. We've been finding it, I mean, I don't think it was a month ago that we did this. I think we did, someone said it earlier for us, I think it was the new moon, just before the new moon, which means it's only about 3 weeks ago, but still, that's almost a month. But it seems like it was a lot, I was going to say a lot longer, because it does, whoever we're in, the collective energies we're in at the moment. But before, it was seeming like it was a lot shorter, and it came around really quickly. God, it's challenging. Our hands are nice and cold, our head's nice and hot. Your head's not nice and hot, our hand's nice and cold. So it took us a long time to do this last time. This time we're just like in there because we've got lots of grief. We've got anger, like we were saying, emotions that we want to purge. We're tired. This is going on for a long time. And so therefore we're tapping into those collective conscious energies in a live stream, which makes it changes it. It's very different when it's live. One's directly in present time with the watcher, present time with the host, I suppose. You've got all the people that come afterwards and it's their present moment. And even though it's not the present moment of the video at the time that they're watching it, there are strong frequencies of present moment frequencies in the video. So there'll be present, oh, this is interesting. So it'll be present past for the future watchers. And so we talk about, on our little blurb, we've put the blurb down the bottom, we talk about getting present rather than present past or present future. It did start off with past present and future present, so that would be further down the scale of the spectrum, because we have done so much meditation and yoga and self-awareness, self-development work, that we got triggered into a permanent present state that shattered, we don't have the words quite yet for it, that just shattered some form of present reality where we were put into a present state that revolved around past states and alternate personalities and ages, to future states and personalities and ages, to the superconscious alternate personalities, and to the subconscious alternate personalities. And we have had to and continue to find the language that works for us to have our resonant truth from information that we gather from the external. And because we're the rare of the rare, because of our unique package of disorders and ailments, etc., there isn't much out there that fully really resonates. But there are bits from here, there, and everywhere. So it is happening. We've got major stuff going on with our hand. A left hand, it's around our fingers here. A left hand is the feminine, it's the present. This is the feeling, and this is the working. So there's a, there we go, an unraveling, because the upper body is related to your hands, and your upper body is related to your communication because it connects into your shoulders. And then your feet on the reflexology is more related to your lower body. It's all to be more dominant. So we wanted to read today from The Secret Language of Your Body by I.S.E.S, the emotions of anger, grief and sadness. From what we understand from past information, going back a while, is that the three basic child state emotions are happiness, anger and sadness. Now, we stopped getting angry around the age of 15, and all of that got projected inwards, and that anger turned to self-guilt of everything. So I mean, it's a lot of, there's a thing of like, if you take things personally, then don't think that big of yourself, because it's not all about you. And so, but that way with words isn't very nice, because we didn't plan this. It's not like we've consciously done it. And when we hear that, it kind of triggers us, because it's like goes into our victim and our younger ones. It's like, well, it's not our fault. We're doing our best to navigate through this and out of this. And so, but then other people just get angry and they project their pain outwards. So if you project it outwards, you hurt other people. If you project inwards, you hurt yourself. And so one thing we did to receive unconditional love was we would, on Facebook, because our little ones use Facebook, is we would heart pretty much everything. Sometimes for things we wouldn't, and we'd leave it because it really triggered us, and we'd specifically go back in and we would heart it. And there's all the dialogue saying, well, we they're going to think that you love it, as in, I love that, that's awesome, rather than the unconditional love. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter what other people think. So this was ticking off so many boxes all at once. And it's been slow, but we really feel that that's worked. We've also, our knees have just been insanely sore, kind of very slowly organising, tidying the house. We haven't hoovered for ages. We didn't put a dishwasher on for ages because we went through money and finance stresses, especially because we're in the UK and that's rising. But we finally put that on last night, because it was like, well, we need to have the environment around us clean, and we can't do it as such like this. But if we put the dishwasher on, that would tidy it up, and then it won't be so daunting, and then there's less to do, and we can then do a hand wash with pots and pans. So the knees are related to our paternal lineage and our maternal lineage, the left knee being the feminine and the right knee being the masculine. So we were going to read a bit about knees as well. So this is the secret language of your body. It's going to be interesting holding these books because this one's heavy. And this one is the metaphysical anatomy. So we're just going to read bits of them, and they're important. So this is how us learning how to structure it with Tito Pai no more. Our little ones are excited because we did a Tesco shop, so we got some sweets and stuff coming later on, and a pizza. They've not had that for ages. Oh god, we shifted into a different one there, an accent, didn't we? Oh, there's lots going on at the moment. And then at the end, if we've got time before the Tesco delivery at 5, because we don't do Tesco's, the last one was like 3 months, and we're trying to just get rid of it completely. But we needed things like bin liners and peppercorns, things that we can't get from our real food box delivery. So that's at 5. So that's now 20 minutes. I'm not sure how this is going to go. But at the end, if we've got time, we've got the Secret Language of Colour by the same author, Ines Segal, and the Heal Yourself reading cards. And our little ones love doing the cards. And then we've got the Chakra Wisdom Tarot and the Chakra Wisdom Oracle. So we were just pulsing our hands and pulsing our feet earlier to bring it into the root chakra, red. So we're tapping into the mass global collective consciousness frequencies of the probably a whole array of emotions going on. Because if it doesn't impact you directly, it's going to impact you indirectly through someone that you probably love or care for, or work colleague or something. Our immediate environment, again, we learn about ourselves from our immediate environment, and our immediate environment is just really aligned and just knows before we do. We did a Tesla code meme, actually, which we absolutely loved. And it went from like reaching a couple of hundred people to like 9,000, 10,000 people on our Facebook. But it was kind of bits of information we got from elsewhere. So eventually, I think we want to create all our own stuff. And this is about doing the sacred geometry as well. We do all the sacred geometry internally with our eyes and with our body and with our breath and with our mouth and our teeth and our tongue. We did a hot water, there's Epsom salts in our bath, so we did a hot water eye fascia where we open our eyes under the water and a bit of water up the nose. We hate the water up the nose, it's so painful. But the eye fascia one we did, whereas before last year it was about doing cold water outside, which would have the rainwater and bits of different bacteria in it. So it's like hot cold water therapy. Cold water contracts. It's like a sponge. It contracts the sponge, squeezes the old blood and fluids out of it, and the warm brings in the new. And so we ended up the other day doing this. It took us all day Sunday and a bit of Monday with a few hours break in between because the body gets really sore. But we were really proud of it. We took all the stickers off apart from the 3, the 6, the 9. This is the Tesla code, but it's the Tesla code mirrored. So you've got the triangles that make the star tetrahedron. The linear is the masculine. The curves is the feminine. You've got the flower of life. And then you've got these little ones down here, which we had to do the next day to get our brain to work. And so you've got the opposites, and you've got the M and the W. The M and the W is the ones of us that used to stare at the trading charts, but they stare at the colours of the rainbow and the Fibonacci charts and the SMAs and the EMAs. We're not going to get into all that though, because I don't understand it. I want those ones to come out. It's like, but it's the astro chart. So on the astrology chart, we've got an app. You can scroll through and look at all the patterns, and you get this pattern that's similar to that on that, which they always get drawn into. And they're the ones, they know stuff. But the conscious eyes don't understand how, are learning their language. And so the language is number, colour, pattern, vibration. September's animal is the swan. That's why the swan's on there. And it's the reflection. So it's this thing of the mirror image that's really influential and really important. But plus you have two swans, and they've got the heart neck. You can get the heart and the swans mate for life, and then if you've got the reflection underneath, and that's what we've kind of done with the thumbnail. And then when we got in the bath earlier, it was like, swans are a royal animal, isn't it? And so we Googled it and looked up swan to see if we were accurate in that thinking. We've actually managed to do, this is episode 4, unit 3. We've managed to get a bit more on the plan and the linear. I think we might have to go into it. Is it up there when we go into it still? Yeah. So in England, the swan is a symbol of loyalty and strength. Swan is a royal bird, and it is even illegal to kill a swan in the UK. Swan... it's the moon's setting in 33 minutes. So currently we've had both luminaires shining. We've had the sun, the masculine, the daytime, the active, the doing, and the moon, the nighttime, the darkness, the internal, the emotional, the receptive, the passive, both shining at the same time. So there's this balance together. But in 33 minutes, and it's 14 minutes to at the moment, so about half an hour before the end, a bit longer, there were... Don't pay no more. Okay. There's gonna... It won't be quite so hard. So when the moon's up, I think we just realised the other day, during the day, we find it really challenging because we've got all that subconscious stuff, and we've got a lot more activity going on with all the light and the energy, I suppose. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there is a shift, which I'm not sure if we'll recognise in the moment. Gaining awareness is challenging. Gaining awareness. So we heard something the other day about being aware of being aware, when a lot of people aren't even consciously aware in the first place, let alone being aware of the subconscious. And then to be aware of your awareness of the subconscious and the conscious, you're going into like inception, but it's not your dream state world. It's not our dream state world, because we're doing all this in our waking state, where the majority of people do it in their dream state. And that's where we're getting a lot from the Tao of Tarot. So, oh God, that's so sore. We want to read a little bit of this, which is Earth Medicine. It goes through each day of the lunar year. So it's the 9th, it's setting sun woman, I think, is the 9th moon cycle that we're in. And that's grandmother moon. So it's the feminine of the tribal, of the Native American Indians. The little bit that we want to read from that, because we didn't read the whole chapter. We've read 10 of the tarot cards, and we've just started on the other 10. We read the Hierophant the other day, which... I can't believe we're managing to get all this out, which is number 5 in the tarot, or the V. It's the knowledge, it's the man-made spiritual knowledge, and it's represented by the kind of like a pope-like figure in the traditional tarot. And if one has strong attachments towards the negative end about that, then they can have an adverse, is that the right word, reaction to it. So this one that we want to read in here, because we hadn't read the last half of the 8th moon cycle, we read on the full moon, we got it up and read the 9th moon cycle for the full moon, which was very interesting, and then read backwards, and then we haven't picked it up again till today, and then we've like read backwards. But there's a couple that we want to read in there, but I don't think we're going to be able to read them all that we wanted. And then that talks about nothingness and how everything comes from nothing, and nothing in your Osho Zen tarot is just a black card. For the number 5, for the Hierophant, no hyphen thingness. And then the bit that we read on there is talking about the root chakra, the red chakra, and I think it talks a bit about the Hierophant. Do you to pay? No. Okay, oh, that's right. We're on the Devil, number 15, which is the second one we've started reading of our second batch of 10, but the first one we started reading of the second batch of 10 was the Hierophant, which we did the other day in 2 stages, along with the first day of this Kundalini breath rising video exercise from this I don't know, this guy. This is how our little ones do it. There was this free thing that went on and had went into deep trauma states and all over the place. It was really fascinating to be the one not in the body and observe it and witness it, but we don't observe and witness it like we're outside of the body. It's just, I don't know how to describe that one yet. But another reason that we separated from people was because we were losing control and we weren't knowing what was going on and we didn't want to hurt anyone. And we've survived a whole life and we've traveled the world and we could kill if we had to. And we didn't want to hurt anyone else and we didn't want to hurt ourselves. And we were in there and we were in the really younger ones. And I think it would have been the younger ones that previous, going back like 3 years or so, we would have been in paralysis and not been able to move. It's still very raw and organic for us because these are kind of still the first time of us talking about it. Maybe others of us have talked about it. I don't know, but there's different ones of us. So it might look like we're repeating lots of things, but we're not. It's different ones of us talking about it. And that is us putting the fragmentation and the separation of the body together again in a fragmented, separated, categorized society. Which is where the tradition comes into it. And that also comes into it with the collective unconscious, with the Queen and all these energies that are going on. And this morning, randomly, when we put YouTube on to do our our little frog short video, which is coming out at 4 o'clock, Prince William and his wife Kate or whatever was on it, and it was live. So we've tapped in with the royal energies as well through this live video format. And then we were going to read chapter 20 of the tracker, which is grandfather energy, Native American Indian. So that we've got the grandmother, we've got the grandfather, we've got the moon cycles, and it's the chapter. We might not have time for this because we're doing lots of talking at the moment, but it's a chapter that talks about animals and killing and the government and society and people, like what in England you'd call the R.S.P.C.A., but they call it differently because it's in America. We can really feel and hear a shift change in our throat chakra with our voice. And so you have the people that haven't even seen the dogs that have got to be killed, don't understand the situation, projecting, well, that's wrong, you can't kill animals, there's another way, and basically brings up an array of emotions that we don't always know the details of every situation. And it's about not making assumptions. And yes, there are wrongdoings of killing animals, but then sometimes if these animals are killing babies and killing horses and pets and killing for fun, like masses of sheep and only eating a couple, then something has to be done. So it's something that brings up a lot of emotion. So the idea was that we would read that to tap people in through narrative form, through true stories, about the emotions and the governments and the diversity of understanding and beliefs, and people acting and reacting when there isn't the full story known, and that this happens. We react when there's stuff in us that those frequencies are having an impact on us. And so it's not, for us, it's not about cutting off or shutting out the collective unconscious by not watching the news or the rest of it. It's about choosing when to open those doorways or those gateways into the news or into the stuff that's going on with the Queen, and tomorrow, and how it's impacting people. And knowing, because it's just been that since the last 3 weeks since we last did this has been pretty horrible. We've not really been able to get in the garden. We do get out there sometimes, but not to do any gardening work. We did manage to make our pickled gherkins, but our little ones have been awesome and making loads of shorts, so they've been kept busy because we've not been able to do our daily poets. So we've been really feeling the energies that are going on, knowing that it's triggering us, which helps sometimes, but then we switch into altars that don't know anything about this. and there's a whole state of chaos and confusion and physical pain and emotional pain and a mental pain. But the one consistent thing that we do remember now, because we've been training ourselves, conditioning ourselves, domesticating ourselves, is to drink our freshly squeezed orange juice, is to do our liquid routine in the morning, is to make sure we eat our sourdough bread and the rest of it. And then if it gets really bad and we go to the shop and we buy cheese and sweets, that we do that and we be okay with that. Or we assess the other ones of us judging us for doing that, and then we all have conversations together and go, well, this is okay, because normally we'd do this and we'd do it for weeks on end, and we wouldn't do it in combination with the healthy stuff. Whereas now it's like maybe 3 times in the last 3 weeks, once a week, which is heaps compared to how it has been, which is actually really good compared to how it was before then. So it's about always doing hindsight, always doing reflection, and attempting to have the mediators in us to help the critical, judgmental, aggro dialogue between the other ones in us that are completely opposing ends of the spectrum. I feel that's interesting. I came out that we're not really communicating it in a concise, summary way, but I know that we've produced information of how the collective unconscious is impacting us, because we have frequencies in us that are not completely clear or purged, because this is a live, real-time documentary of us navigating our CPTSD, our fibromyalgia, our autism, our the DID that goes with the CPTSD, the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, our processing language disorder of the rare dyslexia, post-traumatic trachea syndrome. And it's really hard to accept oneself when society doesn't really accept you as a person if you've got a syndrome or a label or a disorder and sees you as a victim. And even more so when we haven't known about all of this our whole life until the last half decade. And then the people around us don't accept us, and the mental health systems don't accept you, and you get put into all these places. So it's understandable the challenge we've had at accepting ourselves. But we really feel that we're getting to that place where we are accepting ourselves and this craziness, especially when people thought we were different and crazy before all this. It's like, yeah, we're fucking Fruit Loop now, like logarithm 1000. But we're not. We're human, and humans are all on the same spectrum, and we just cover lots of different ones that brings a collective of people that are opposing ends of the spectrum together. So we're actually a special mediator that can bring 2 different things and show and explain different sides of the story. Even if we're not able to fully explain it yet, we're doing a lot better than what we were, not so much in the victim language or the narrative. And we will get better, because it's people like us and you who's watching this that have these things, that when we can learn to accept ourselves and see the gifts that these bring. The Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, the EDS, gives us the understanding of the electromagnetic in the energy in the body, the fibromyalgia and the electrochemical energy in the body, the fibromyalgia, the understanding of how it can build new pathways and new roads, the autism, the multi-dimensionality of things, the dissociative identity disorder, being a fly on the wall and actually physically experiencing multitude of different perspectives that are chaotic. And so one has to learn to find what overlaps with all of them and bring it together, because it's only one body, and you can't have that opposing chaos in one body, because the body turns into chaos. And when the body is not strong in its structure, like because of the EDS, then it takes a huge impact. So yeah, we're learning to accept it. We've seen that the post-traumatic trachea gives us the understanding of the pressure of the tubes in the body. So our collection of labels and disorders and syndromes actually is a beautiful package of gifts that's giving us the understanding of the quantum biomechanics of a human body. And then all our teaching, our younger background, our father, our first love's mum, we started a teaching degree, our younger yoga teacher training, our nerve touch Thai massage, our alternative therapies course. Now, not all of it we got qualified in, but again, that's part of it, we're realizing, to show you that one doesn't need to be qualified. Just because you've got a piece of paper and a qualification doesn't make you any better or deserve any more money. If anything, someone that's got practical real life experience and the ability to articulate and communicate and collaborate that info and put it across, which we're not there yet, but I know we will be. We're not coming this far and not going to get there. To someone that's got like a PhD and a doctorate, but never had first-hand experience, the experientialist is so much more influential and important. But if we can take out the hierarchy, which is really hard again in a system of working class and rich and middle class, again, the monarchy, a hierarchy. But if we can take that out of it and just see humans as humans, the friendship poem of Dalai Lama, the 14th, it's human connection and relationship and friendship of human friendship is based on true connection, irrelevant of worth or wage or finance, or it doesn't matter if 1 minute you're up there, top end jobby and heaps money, and the next minute you've lost your family, lost your job, and you're a tramp living in your car. You're still the same person in the essence. Okay, so we've talked heaps again. Because we get anxious, we get nervous, and we talk a lot when we're anxious and when we're nervous. Should we just read a little bit more of Swan? Because we've got 2 likes, which I think it's us liking ourselves twice from 2 of our channels, and we've got 2 watchers. And putting them together, I don't know, they're reminding us somehow of a swan. 2 swans that mate for life. But we're mating ourselves together of the masculine and the feminine energies to mate for life, because we do want to attract a lover and be with someone. We've never had that form of relationship ever. But we want a certain frequency, resonance of someone to come in. And for that, we have to vibrate at that. Thank you for that 3rd like. But you messed up our swan symbolism. Tito bye. Gone. So swan is royal bird, and it's even illegal to kill a swan in the United Kingdom. We love the swans in South America, Southern Hemisphere, because they're black, and we love black animals. Swans are present in many European fairy tales, symbolizing chastity, partly because of their white plumage, artistry, and beauty. The meaning of swan is grace, beauty, love, trust, and loyalty. Swan symbolism is also linked to inner beauty and self-love. A pair of swans represents soulmates for life. Why does the Queen own swans? Historically, this legalization was created because swans were eaten as prized food at banquets and feasts. Valuable rights of ownership were granted by the monarch to a select few. But today, swans are no longer eaten and are protected species. And then the last one, the mute swan has been a royal bird since around 1189. In 1483, an Act of Parliament was passed which enacted inter alia that only the monarch could grant possession of swans, and thus a swan mark. So it's really interesting that this month is swans on the calendar. We've talked about how we go on this. And the Queen's passing, 96 when she died. 96 is the number of forgiveness. 96 is the 369 on the Tesla code. Equaling 15, which is the devil, which we were just talking about on the Tao of Tarot, which equals 6. And there was more, but we're not going to go there, too much more. So, top of my knee. Okay, our hand is currently hurting in this moment. And if we're connected into source energy, and it's a left hand presence, and it's this area here is also your lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is important because it's part of to do with the immune system, but your limbic system is also, I think, related to slightly to your immune system. If not, that could be related to your moods, and we're talking about moods and emotions. It's your feeling and your thinking. No, it's not. Your thinking's that one. It's your feeling and your working. Yeah, the Queen reigned for 70 years. It's the longest. She's the longest ruling monarch. I think that's the right wording. And you watch them, and like our younger generation are getting so much more expressive and reactive, and we are doing what we're doing for the younger generation, because in what we're doing when we do this work inwards, and the deeper we go inwards to ourselves, the more we connected we get to the collective unconscious, whether we're watching the news or TV or anything. So the more that we can delve inwards and be pure with that. But when we aren't able to be pure with that, and we use the vices of food or other things to numb the pain or to relax us, to be okay with that and non-judgmental, but still to know that if we want to shift and change and have the next generations not suffer, to keep doing our dance and finding the things that are fun and joyful. So we're just going to read the hand, is what our little ones were saying, because it's our hands that are hurting strongly in this moment. We're starting to utilize our, oh wow, look at that. Tito poor. I know, we just have done a whole pile of shorts, and there's the one in us going, oh, you just missed a card in the shorts. We did a short focus, we're doing focus exercises, and we did the color ones, but we didn't have orange in it. Orange is the second chakra. Orange is your emotions, the chemical body. 16, the tower. We're doing a conscious tower, a conscious, aware, gently waking up, because we can't handle anything else. We can't do much more. 16 is also the number of rebirth. Equaling 7, we were just talking about 7 logarithm 10 with the Queen and her 70-year reign. And it's orange, and it's nurture yourself. And so we are nurturing, we're talking about nurturing ourselves through our actions, through our intake of food and whole foods, fuel, eco fuels, through our emotions, through play and having fun, through nature, through our self-talk dialogue. And if we are that fragmented and separated that we have the different personalities, then we had to learn to, metaphorically speaking, because I don't know what goes on, because we're deaf, blind and dumb inside, it's all sensations and feelings and playing detective and putting it together, we'd have to sit on the fence. And the more judgmental we were about, the conscious eyes were about what was going on, the more we'd have blackouts and have no memory and not know what was going on at all. Whereas we feel like we're kind of pretty much co-conscious, but there's so many of us and so much goes on, we can't grasp all that information all the time. But I don't think we have as many blackouts or the rest of it that goes on as previous. But we live on our own, and you know, who knows, and stuff like that. And it's in the page of arms. So you know, we're just talking about doing the hands. So that's really fascinating, because plus it's A, which is not that near to H, E, F, G, H. But you see, the subconscious and the superconscious know everything, and the conscious mind can't handle it or keep up with it all because of limiting belief systems, because it's not ready for it, because you're like us and you've got faulty healing. We've got head injury, so the scar tissue. Before we went into psych ward, we remember our scar ripping itself apart on the head from our breath work. So there's always a multitude of reasons and understandings. And understanding there's always a multitude of reasons to something, being aware of the conscious ones, and then having fun and playing a game to find or to wait to receive the unconscious, the subconscious and the superconscious reasoning of things, so that we can get that at least six reasons. Start off with 3 or less than that, but once you've got your 6 reasons, you then look for the opposites, which means you've got 12 because you've got the polarities. So hands, possible. So what we're doing now has the pure intention of clearing and purging stuff in us while tapped into the collective unconscious, so that it will purge and clear stuff in the collective unconscious, which will then work through to the conscious mind of people on a mass global. This is the first quarter and third quarter moon charged water we're drinking now, and chakra charged. shungite purified, which shungite is the shungites from, I think it's from Siberia, somewhere in Russia. And it's really great news about, if we're not mistaken, about the war ending in Russia. And that was fascinating, actually, when we heard about that, because the person that we heard it off on whatever radio or wherever it was, wasn't a person in physical life. Oh, we just had a nice gentle jaw release. Beautiful body, we love you, thank you. It said how it was a prime example of heart-driven survival fight for your life and wage-paid invaders. So the people that are in the army from Russia that would get paid a wage, that had been paid to invade and do what they do, were actually dressing in civilians' clothes and camouflaging themselves and attempting to leave the country. So, we're getting tingles and emotion, but good emotions. And that's beautiful, because it shows that when the heart and when the passion's there, one can succeed. And if someone's living in fight, flight, freeze and the PTSD or the CPTSD, you're in that survival mode. And so when we bring, and the energy's strong, and so when we bring our heart into that to filter out those energies, then the empower that can go behind that empowerment is huge. But we've got to stop talking about that. I think we've hit something that brings a lot more self-worth, a lot more self-belief. We've been watching lots of people that we admire and respect that talk about stuff that we've known and talked about for ages, just not in a receptive, academic, knowledgeable, conventional way for others to be able to receive it. But that's okay, because if they were, we'd have a lot more followers and we wouldn't be able to handle it. And we know that when we're ready to fully embrace the world, will be when the world's fully ready to embrace us, and it will be this completely what people call divine timing, or aligned, but we prefer aligned timing. Hands, possible contributing factors: an inability to handle life, repeatedly saying I can't deal with things, lending a helping hand to everybody else in need but yourself, experiencing stiffness and fist clenching. And see, we said thirst then, and it's all the conscious mind's preconceived mistakes that have messages in it. And those messages could be for us watching back later or other people. But when one is in the flow state and things like that happen, there's always a reason behind it, why it's happening. Too much criticism and worry, which creates arthritic hands. Fear of the future, which creates hands that grip too tightly and lack faith in their ability to create. Healing hands gravitate toward healing others, but cannot save the world, can only contribute to the lives of others if they are open to it. Left hand holds more feminine energy. Complications from holding on to hurts from your family, mother, sister, wife, daughter, and so forth. Feeling isolated and lonely, not knowing how to take care of yourself, or how to find a clear path or direction. Resisting life and looking for handouts rather than taking charge. Handling situations and learning from these to become stronger and more empowered. So we're going to read through the remedy, but we're not actually going to do it with intention of going deeper. We're just going to read through it so that if the viewer wants to go through it deeper, they can pause it, or not pause it, they can come back to it later and they can center themselves and do what they need to start with. So we're just going to tell you this now. We've got unhealthy emotions to work with, healthy emotions to work with, and colours to work with. So we're just going to read those out now so that when someone does come back to it, they can just start it off. And we're not going to read all of these. We are going to read a couple of emotions in the back, but we're not going to read them all. But we don't need the knowledge. We're getting into an age of searching for answers without of us, but all the answers are inside. But it's just challenging if we don't know the language. We have to learn the language to understand the answers, to understand the intuition, etc. So, for instance, just focusing our attention, trusting the power of us. This is great. This is all the information that we've been repeating while we've been editing and doing our focus exercises. So now it comes out and flows, whereas before we didn't have the words for it. And then you've got the ones that watch it back afterwards. So what the editing is doing for us, how we are weaving and sewing our sensory system, tubular, bioorganic computer bodies together again, sensory system bodies together again, is through creating content and videos that's to do with our subtle sensory stimulation, because it's the subtle energetics, it's the micro. It's like you've got your feet on the floor, you gently push them down, you gently go to take your feet off the floor, but you never take your feet actually off the floor. You're accessing the subtle muscle groups. So for us to access the unseen, subtle, energetic dimensions or realms, the dimensions and realms just being the different colors of the rainbow, the red being the physical, tangible, seen, dense reality that's slower, which comes, the slowest person in a race comes last. And then you go up through the different chakras, the different vibrations, the different wavelengths. They're the different dimensions. Each one has a different language. Each one has a different perception. So everyone has multiple personalities. It's just to what extent it manifests into separating the actual physical body. And for it to separate the actual physical body, we're not going to go into that one anymore. So editing, when one's putting music to it, they're also separating 10 minutes worth of footage maybe into 1 minute, maybe from a few different videos. We're constantly having to use the brain to remember what videos, where were they? I mean, there's been so many videos we've wanted to start and do and haven't, because we don't know where the videos are and we've got so much stuff to organize. But that's all going to come into play, I think, over these next 3 to 6 months, starting the end of October-ish, when we start our social media detox, which will be a challenge to start with, and we're waiting for our littles to be ready so that they feel safe. We've got all the fun stuff prepared, everything's there, and there's all this subliminal messaging going on so that they come to their own understanding and time to do this, so that we can bring ourselves all together, because they need to grow up. They are our organs and they need to grow up, so that the organs reach their optimum resonant frequency, optimum size. He's top pay. Okay, that's okay. So yeah, we've talked. So we've not done this out loud before again either. So doing the editing is bringing different senses of auditory, sight, time of numbers, and in abstract creative ways, you've got things like touch and taste, because we're so present that when we talk about the subtle sensory stimulation, healing garden sanctuary that we're in, we may be editing and talking about it on the computer, but that will then bring us back into the times. It's like, oh yeah, the chamomile smells amazing. And our little ones go around feeling the flowers and feeling the leaves. And so it's bringing the past and the future, because we're editing a video that's going to go out into the future, all into the present moment of editing. And then again, when we watch it back, it's bringing all of that into it again. So it's bringing, this is our way of bringing the past alternate personalities from our childhood, creating immediate, in the last half decade, new memories, which don't cause traumatic triggers from our childhood. There's triggers from the recent stuff that we've watched on tarot or this, that, the other. I mean, we started watching Cindy the other day on Aries, on the sixth sense, and we call this your sixth sense multi-energetics, the sixth multi-energetic sense. And we've been watching some of hers going back to the past, which are all mostly Libra, I think, and some to do with like rape and sexual abuse. And all her glasses keep changing, but there's a dialogue going on between some of us going, oh, she doesn't wear the glasses anymore. But in this one, the new one, she was wearing the glasses. They were just different glasses in a different frame. And we'd only just started off. That was what was going on in our thought, because that's what we've learned to understand. Zendaya wants in, we have to let him in. Hold on, Zen. They know when we need to take a break. We go to the front door, darling. Hello, sweetheart. There we go. We leave the front door open so we've got some air. Apologies, we didn't say hello. We walked off. Hi, beautiful boy. You're going to walk for your bag? Your tunnel? No idea what we're talking about now. Hi. Yeah, walk through there. Go on. We've got this backpack for him. Can you come up and say hello? Can you come up and say hello? It's in there. Little bye. We've been having some great cuddles and purrs, haven't we? Hey? Haven't we? Yeah, we love you. Yeah, so we're just going to go back to the hands. So yeah, set the intention of the emotion or whatever it is one wants to. Sorry about the apologies about the bubble. You can lay down there, Zen. So yeah, just set your intention to work with a colour, or just say bring this colour into it, and then just trust the power of your subconscious and your superconscious mind. My knees are sore. And let that do the work. Release the conscious mind's need to know or understand. So the unhealthy emotions, control, stuckness, fear, frustration. The healthy emotions, flexibility and movement, freedom, confidence and satisfaction. And colours to work with: pink, gold and green. And so we'll read the remedy now. The palms of your hands have the ability to access divine healing energy, as well as healing energy from your body. Rub your hands together to activate your body's natural healing energy. Now, place them near each other and feel the tingling sensation. Say, I now activate my divine healing energy. We like to put in multiple pronouns. We now activate my divine healing energy. And we also say you, and you can think of yourself looking in the mirror and saying it to yourself. You may even want to do the mirror work while you do this. You now activate my divine healing energy. Imagine that a golden healing light has been activated in the palms of your hands. Observe as this brilliant light expands and moves through your whole hand, clearing all blockages and toxicity from the blood and regenerating your hands. Say, divine healing intelligence, I ask you to release all worry, inflexibility, control, resistance, loneliness, isolation, and tension I carry in my hands, as well as all points of view, all patterns, and the positive and negative charges that contribute to this condition. Divine healing intelligence, we ask you to release all worry, inflexibility, control, resistance, loneliness, isolation, and tension we carry in our hands, as well as all points of view, all patterns, and the positive and negative charges that contribute to this condition. Divine healing intelligence, we don't know how to do this one. You ask you. They ask you to release all worry, inflexibility, control, resistance, loneliness, isolation, and tension they carry in their hands, as well as all points of view, all patterns, and the positive and negative charges that contribute to this condition. And then repeat the word clear until a shift occurs or is felt. We say, so then it'll be like, you could do that again with each pronoun and say clear, clear, clear after each pronoun, or you can do them all together and say it, or you can do it however you want. You know what's best for you. we all know what's best for ourselves. And it's great that we call ourselves a we, because that means that we're talking about us, but also it means that we can be talking about everyone. So we would much prefer the whole, you know, when there's the whole I am, and there's all that philosophy and everything that goes on with the I am, we want that to be the we are, because when we say we, what's programmed and domesticated into the subconscious is a collective of people. And so that has a much greater impact. Whereas when we say I, it brings that conditioning of the I, the ego, the selfishness, rather than the I and the selflessness that comes from nurturing oneself and putting the oxygen mask on first so that they can help others without depleting themselves, which are very different. Shake, the oldest and newest form of medicine. Shake or massage our hands for 1 to 2 minutes to help them to release any stuckness. Link our fingers so that the palms of our hands are touching. Hold this, so it could be like that, maybe. And if you know of another way, again, just follow what your body knows best. As kids, kids put themselves in yoga positions and do yoga without even knowing. We just, as adults, put the name yoga to it. But connecting our body to different parts, it's all hand mudras, and it's about connecting to our body on the level and going deep, because then our body tells us what to do. Hold this hand position for a few moments, allowing the healing energy to grow and regenerate our hands. Say, Divine Healing Intelligence, please assist me, us, them, to handle all situations with ease and grace, while taking responsibility for my, our, their actions. Help me, us, them, learn from my, us, their life experiences and become more empowered. Thank you. The more flexible and relaxed our hands are, the healthier our body will be. Hands contain many meridian points which relate to every organ in the body. And that's the reflexology again that we were talking about earlier. Say, Divine Healing Intelligence, please heal and regenerate my, our, their hands, fingers and wrists to their maximum health, strength and flexibility. Namaste, Etzman. Thank you. Yoik, Nat. See, we don't even have to hold the intention of doing a shift. It just happens. We kind of want to close that door again, but we don't want to get up and move. So we're just going to leave it open. I think that's under the moon set energies. We've done all this as well. So we set our alarms to invite in the moon set, the moon rise, and the sunset and the sunrise. And we did our sun gazing this morning at sunrise as well, because it's all about the light refraction in the body, and the body holds loads of crystals. So we do our knees. And we're just going to read through it. And we're just going to say our. We're not going to say their or my, but know that we can change those pronouns. And when we use them all, it has a great impact on all aspects of the psyche and self. Possible contributing factors: control, blame, judgment, anger, resentment, frustration, inflexibility, feeling stuck, difficulty dealing with a person, issue, or situation from the past, confusion, frozen desires and unfulfilled dreams, unresolved family issues. Blow out some of that sacral chakra, second chakra, chemical body. family issue frequencies, because that's when it happened, wasn't it? So around that sentence. Oh, it's this, if it continues to be this easy and get easier, then I'll be so grateful. Unresolved family issues, difficulty making decisions and keeping commitments, fear of moving forward, a great need to know what will happen next. Oh, it's both of our needs. We've got to read them both. That's okay. We can read them both. Okay. See, there's resistance coming up in these ones. Shitopanai. I want to do the left knee first. Yeah. Okay. Issues with a mother. Oh, so that's why we're doing the left knee first, isn't it? Because we've just done the left hand, haven't we? Tapapai no more. Yeah, the right brain functions the left body, doesn't it? And all our hair's starting to grow back on the legs. It sounds crazy. We used to spend hours in an ice pack epilating our hairs off our legs when we were younger. To be grateful for the hair starting to grow back now, because they're the little antennae for the body and for the subtle sensory dimensions. And we can feel spiky hair up to here. So there's a whole little triangle there, which means we're reversing, we're regenerating, we're reversing the flow of energy. But here it's the sum, but it's so much more finer. But we are in this dream state reality with all the stuff that we're navigating through and going on. So it makes sense. Issues with mother, sister, aunt, or significant female in our life. Holding on to sadness, hurt, and loss from the past. She's tall. Yeah, we did have a lovely goodbye with our... I don't want to say... But that's okay. It's our ex-stepsister, but she's our sister. We've been with her since... They got married when we were 5 and she was 3, and they separated when we were 8, and she was 5. Yeah, 5's the Hierophant number, isn't it? Well done. And yeah, so we do numerology. So 16 is 7 for expansion, and additions, expansion. It's 5 on contraction. Expansion's Jupiter energies, contraction Saturn energies. It's 6 for multiplication and division. So you don't have, and multiplication and division is infinite expansion and infinite contraction, but we're not great on all the words of them yet. So we're still figuring out the right words for that, but it's the best words we've got for what's going on. And so, yeah, we have separated. We've got, it's just our uncle now that we're in, well, haven't even been in communication with him for ages. We need to communicate with him, but that's because that's what we need to do. Because it's like when you're going out with someone and you want to be friends with that someone after you split up, there has to be a period of time on separation so you can establish yourselves as individuals first, so that then you can go in and rebuild a relationship on friendship. But it's challenging just to go from one to the other, especially if there's more emotion or more of an entanglement from one part. And I suppose what we're realizing is before all of our relationships, like the majority of the population again, are based on trauma bonds and trauma relationships. And it was amazing. It was great. It was there was, for the first time, real clear kind of communication and understanding and deep sadness about having to, and understanding that our dynamics aren't healthy for each other, and that we want to be this person, but we can't be the person we want to be if we keep getting brought back into energetics of our past. And that hurts us greatly, but this is our unique way of doing things, and that's okay. And we're making ourselves believe that. But yeah, it was a really good understanding with her, which has had lots of practice from so many people before. We're grateful that that was the case, and that's from us and the practice we've had from before, but also because of the beauty of the person she is, her psychology degree, her understanding and want to do certain things. But the want to do certain things and the passion, heart-driven passion behind it for her isn't as deep and dark and desperate as it is for us. Because we've not been able to form healthy human relationships for long periods of time because of our DID, which other people couldn't know about, because if other people knew about it, it would mean that we'd end up knowing about it. And if we ended up knowing about it when we weren't ready, it would have been too much for us to handle. That's where we are with our understanding, current understanding of where we are with things. Holding on to sadness, hurt and loss from the past, feeling like a victim, constant criticism and holding ourselves back. And of course, we've been a victim, but we've never experienced the emotions and the impact of being a victim. And we had to navigate down those pathways. This is the words put into what we've been witnessing. And they're challenging. They're challenging pathways to navigate, but they're even challenging pathways to get oneself out of. So we can't have the people around if people are falling into their rescuer. We can't have them around, because then we've got to be a victim, and it's even harder to get out of those frequencies, especially when the language for us that overlaps to speak to all of our alters and the ones that have opposing belief systems is frequency and energy. So those are the realms we're dancing in, which makes sense because we're dancing in the realms of the sub and superconscious and the consciousness, God, the collective unconscious, whatever, those realms. Remedy. So again, we'll go back to reading the unhealthy emotions to work with. It's anger, control, criticism, resentment, stuckness. Healthy emotions to work with. Flexibility and movement, encouragement, confidence, peace, forgiveness, colours to work with, green, pink and orange. You've got the ones of us that look up and attempt to look in the camera, but we hate it. But then you've got the little ones come out and they just look straight into the camera and their eyes go really wide. They're so cute. So yeah, we're working with our orange and our green and our pink. We can't do that. We could do, yeah, but we're not going to. We'll do it afterwards. Stand and ask ourselves, are we willing to let go of controlling, blaming, and judging ourselves and others? Can we give ourselves permission to move forward, to dance forward with trust and love and certainty? If the answer is yes, yes. Visualize releasing all the fear, blame, and inflexibility. We may imagine cutting ourselves free from heavy ropes of control, or taking rocks of fear out of various parts of our body and throwing them into the ocean, or imagining a big heavy rucksack of rocks and slowly chucking them out, or letting a hole in them falling out. Whatever works for you, for us. Say, divine healing intelligence, we ask you to release all blame, judgment, fear, anger, confusion, hurt, loss, sadness, and inflexibility from our knees, as well as all points of view, all patterns, and the positive and negative charges that contribute to this condition, to these conditions. Repeat the word clear until we feel a shift. And we say it backwards sometimes as well, which is rauk, ra'auk. We're going to start with the backwards one. Rauk, 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 rauk. Clear, 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 clear. Ask ourselves, what possibilities are now available to us? Imagine a life of infinite options, flexibility, flow, and satisfaction. Now, take Tito Paul Pay. Okay, so we're not going to read it exactly what it says because we have to do differently. Take a small, gentle, subtle step backwards. And then bring the other foot gently, slowly backwards and ground it and anchor it down. And with that leg anchored and that foot anchored down, without taking the foot off, gently lift it up. And then lift your other leg up and step it forward. Lift, and as you're lifting your other leg up, step that other back footward down and step forward. Because to move forward in life, to raise and grow up our consciousness and the stunted parts of our consciousness, we first have to reflect backwards into the past. We have to have hindsight, and we have to ground ourselves and anchor ourselves down and give ourselves something to energetically hold on to without holding on with the physical out of desperation. Allow ourselves to really live this experience of freedom, empowerment, and flow in the moment. Breathe deeply and really savor the experience of expansion, knowing that we need to pull back like the arrow first, or like the slingshot, or with the foot to anchor ourselves, because before the expansion we have the contraction. Say, divine healing intelligence, please install deeper awareness, flexibility, strength, certainty, and a sense of freedom. Allow us all to take responsibility and accountability for our actions, and to open ourselves up to incredible new opportunities and ways of experiencing life. Thank you. Now, sit down and rub our hands. Feel the heat and the tingling sensation in our hands, and then visualize a powerful green ray of light emanating from them. Place our hands on our knees and sense this green, sparkly, radiant ray of light as it moves through our knees, releasing all their stuckness and density and regenerating them. Keep our hands on our knees until we feel the process has concluded. Divine healing intelligence, please heal and regenerate our knees to their maximum strength, flexibility, and well-being. Bye. Our little ones are really looking forward to watching this one back. We're over the physical pain. It's gone. Thank you for leaving. Oh, what's the wording for pain-free body? So we've got too long. We want to do the cards. This is more of the adult metaphysical anatomy book. It's K, isn't it? JKL. Okay. What's that? Klinefelter's syndrome. Oh, infertility. Infertility, learning disability, male problems, nerve problems, speech, stuttering, and testosterone problems. Wow, that's quite a lot on there, isn't there? That's really interesting. We're brought to that. We covered quite a few of them. and the male energetics. I know it's heavy. In our younger alternate personalities mostly, because some things get obscenely heavy for what they are. Knee problems, see bone problems, inflammation, joint problems, tendon problems. Emotions. We have found ourselves stuck in an uncomfortable situation. We don't have an actionable plan to move forward on a project or in our personal life. Our perception of the future is mixed up with our own inner fear and dread of being ridiculed, judged, or rejected. Our fear being judged by family members if we follow our dreams. 85. That's the number of follow your dreams. We feel disempowered by life due to a past failure that left us feeling judged, humiliated, and attacked, either verbally or physically by others. We are entering a new phase, transition. This could be related to pregnancy that we feel obligated to follow through on, often related to our mother or grandmother. We have a fear of success. We may want to change our life's direction, but feel held back by our family's demands and expectations. We have a fear of disappointing our parents, guardians, if we make certain changes. We also don't want to leave our comfort zone. Changes were experienced as traumatic in the past. We know a change is coming, and we are almost paralyzed by fear of the unknown. And that's where we're going to have to stop, because our Tesco delivery man's early and we've got to go. So we're just going to leave it there and not say anything. Okay, bye. Take care.